Patnaik, you're muted.
Yeah, we are going live now. We are on live on Amonbord page.
Good morning and welcome, Vijay. You can see you. Welcome.
Morning, Devashish. Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yes.
Morning, sir.
Hi, Kaushik. Hi.
Yeah, Ashok.
Yeah, actually, he's saying that host has got another meeting in progress.
No, this same meeting, that the last link which we sent you, just click on that directly, you will come in.
Okay, I'll try that again.
Yeah.
I'm trying it.
No, it's unable to get in, Ashok is saying. Just try.
I think there is a link problem, looks like.
Did you send the last one to him? The latest one?
I told him again to try.
I think here. I think he's here.
Is here?
I think the link is working fine.
Link is okay. Just now even Sandhya has tested it.
Vishwadeep Banerjee is trying, he's getting issues for joining.
आपको जो लिंक भेजा ना सर, मैंने अभी लास्ट लिंक जो भेजा है सबको फॉरवर्ड कर दीजिए वाला. That is a direct link.
You sent it on the webinar, right? Or
No, I sent it to you on WhatsApp, direct WhatsApp from my email, from my WhatsApp number. To you direct.
Okay.
Click on that link. You send that link to anybody who is having a problem.
Again to Ashok, he's unable to get in, I think. He called me just now.
एक मिनट. आपको भी अभी मैं ये लिंक भेजा हूँ, आप फॉरवर्ड करिए ये वाला. I also sent to you.
No, I did send it to him, but I don't know. He's saying he's unable to get in.
Some people are coming. 14 are here now.
Right. Yeah. So we'll just wait for some more while.
Another few minutes, then we start.
Yep.
Yeah,
People who have joined on time.
Devashish, just can you call him, Ashok, and find out why he's not getting.
Yeah, yes.
Every crew, everywhere.
15.
Wait.
You got the link?
Yeah, I got the link. I've sent it to the people. All are getting problems in joining.
Yeah, we sent it to Ashok.
Ashok is asking what is the password.
He's here already. He's here already.
All right, okay.
He's here.
Not visible.
Yeah, I finally got it.
Okay, good.
If anybody is asking for the password, it is Amonbord in caps.
Yeah, okay.
It's written in black and white behind us.
Good to see Mr. Pai here. Mr. Rai.
You're muted, sir.
Muted.
Good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Hello, sir.
Where is Mr. Mahapatra? Can't see.
He has come in, I think.
Yeah, I have come in.
You don't want to show your face. Your video is off.
No, video is on.
Is your video on, sir? We can't see you.
The video is on.
We can't see you.
No, we can't see it.
Maybe, yeah, maybe you need to switch on some camera or something. Maybe it's some other camera is on.
It's
No,
blocking, or if it is a phone, then you may be having the cover behind.
No, I don't have, I'm sitting in front of a desktop.
Ashok, that's
So
the
in
whole.
the bottom, in the video, is the
Earlier
video
days, we
sign
could have asked
okay?
you, is there load shedding going on? I don't think so. That's not an option anymore.
No, no, no.
Ashok, are you sending us a message? That's the whole discussion about IMO not to be seen. Huh?
Ah,
I can see Commodore Bal, the director of DMET.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I can't see you. We can't see you, rather. Yes,
Okay.
there it is. Okay. Good afternoon, Commodore
Good
Bal.
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome to-
Very good afternoon, sir. Very good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon.
Is there a limitation on how many you can see on the screen right now, Srinivas?
No, you can see almost 49 if you set to max. I have allowed 49 on the screen. So 7 by 7 you can see. Otherwise, just if you have 5 by 5, 25 you definitely can see.
Ashok, are you okay? Can't see you well yet.
I'm still not getting the this thing.
Can you see us?
Yeah, I can see you all.
Then I don't know why it should be there.
Yeah, so probably, sir, you need to go into your settings and click on video settings and then select the camera. So if you're using a desktop and another camera, then probably you have to select that camera.
Okay, sir, go to top right. There is a mark gallery. Click on the gallery.
Yeah, gallery
Right,
view.
there is a gallery.
Where?
Top right corner where it is speaker's view and full.
Gallery.
There is a gallery.
Ah,
Click on that.
yeah, I clicked on that, but my thing is showing blank over there.
Yeah.
So let me just check the settings.
So are you connected to a laptop, sir, and then a desktop?
No, no, no.
No. Right. So I guess do we wait for a couple of minutes more? We want-
Commodore Dhareshwar, welcome.
Yeah, a couple of minutes more. Yeah, we just,
Yeah,
because there is some people.
Switch on your audio.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Nice to see you. And I hope today will be much more knowledgeable, at least for me.
Good morning, Michael. Michael is there. You unmute yourself. Good morning and welcome to the show, Michael. Michael is joining from London.
Good morning, Debatis. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello,
Thank you.
good morning.
Hi, Sudesh.
What's up?
Nice to see you.
Sanjay Gupta. We are a bit delayed because there is a joining issue with the link some people are having. So just bear with us. We just, in a couple of minutes, we're going to start.
Yeah, it's always the people who join on time, people who come in late, always sort of get the benefit. Yeah, but we always have this advantage of seeing some of our old friends and cronies, some of whom we are seeing after so many years, and you know, it like brings in such good nostalgia that you know, it propels us to do more.
Yes, this is the main idea, because maritime is a very, very small world. So it's good to have everything. So, you know, whoever is there, You can put your videos on. A lot of people are without the videos, but anyway. So
There you go, finally.
Can you get me now?
Yeah.
yes, Mr. Naik.
Okay.
There he is.
Difficult to recognize though, with your nice French cut.
Come on, yes. I have slightly moved into a different field. So,
Oh my God, Mr. Mahapatra Ashok, you look different now, huh? It's a different look.
now that I'm into the film world also, so it's a different. Vijay, you will be glad to know that I have produced a film.
Mute. You're muted.
I said you must have been the hero in that, Ashok.
No. I'm the producer. Victor Banerjee is there, and this thing. It has done its round fairly well.
Yeah, it got some awards.
Well done.
Are you going to, I think, where was it? In Toronto? Yeah.
No, now next one, we have had our series.
Are you putting it on Netflix? I'm waiting for it to come on Netflix.
That's right, Mr. Chatterjee, even me. Yes. Let us know.
It's all right to say it's difficult to break through the mafia. I was thinking Vijay will help me with his dad's old contacts.
Well, God bless his soul, he's no more, so you know how it is.
Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have sufficient quorum now. So let's begin. Right, I would request all of you to put yourself on mute. And of course, if you want to say something, you can unmute yourself. But at this point of time, let's begin. Right. So, hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on essentially two interrelated topics: flag state responsibilities and its challenges, and the compliance of IMO conventions, jointly organized by Amonbord and Seed Maritime UK. We thank you all for joining us today amidst your hectic schedules. I'm Kaushik Seal, your moderator for today's session. I'm basically a marine engineer from the Marine College in Calcutta, and I've sailed as a chief engineer with Great Eastern Shipping, and I've worked ashore with Lloyd's Register, ARI, ABS, Anglo-Eastern, Command Lloyd, DNV-GL, and now I'm currently with Storm Geo in Singapore, looking after their sales and business development in the region. Our first presenter for today is Mr. Devashish Majumdar, the Chief Executive Officer of Seed Maritime UK. I have known Devashish personally for the last 4 decades, and it gives me immense pleasure to introduce him to this august audience. Devashish's career spans for more than 35 years, and he has extensive experience as a chief engineer, AVS class surveyor, UK Port State Inspector, and an ISM, ISPS, MLC, and ISO 9001, 14001 lead auditor. He has held prestigious and challenging positions as the head of ISM for UK and head of UK Ship Register, and has received 3 performance awards with cash prizes and a long service award from the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. Devashish also had a stint as CEO and International Registrar of Ships at St. Kitts and Nevis, a Caribbean flag. Devashish has done his bachelor's in marine engineering from DMET Kolkata in 1983. Since he has worked closely in a senior position with 2 different flag states and has also been a registrar of ships and seamen and a head of a flag state, he will share some insights on how to choose the correct flag and the merits and demerits of a flag state. This session will be an interactive one where Devashish will ask a few questions to the audience, which can be answered directly in the chat box. We will also have a Q&A session after the presentations, and you can also send your questions in the chat option from your various devices. We will now play a short profile video of Devashish.
Good morning. Thank you, Kaushik, for the wonderful introduction. And good morning, UK, Europe. Good afternoon, Dubai, Cyprus, India. Good evening, Singapore, Hong Kong. This is the Basis Mazumdar live from the United Kingdom. It's few minutes past 9 o'clock in the morning here, and I thank you all very much to attend this webinar today amongst your busy schedule. As Kaushik has said, you know, I'm a chief engineer. I'm 11 years at sea, and then 11 years with the American Bureau of Shipping, 11 years with the British Civil Service in the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency in different roles. And last 4 years, I was head of the UK Ship Register, and I was also the head of a Caribbean flag and a CEO. So I have experienced the flag angle. We are all technical, we are all marine engineers, but I experienced the flag angles and the different areas which we should have a look. And I'm going to share with you some areas which we marine engineers sometimes miss out. So today I'm going to talk about the flag state challenges, and about our next speaker, Mr. Joy Chatterjee, who's very well known. He's going to talk about IMO compliance and the III audit. So now, firstly, to begin with, the flag state. Now, a lot of owners and I've met a lot of owners all over the world, and a lot of the owners feel that, you know, flag is not that important. You know, the main important is the shipyard when you take delivery, then the ROs, the class societies, they think very lately about flag. So that's why today I'm going to tell you how flag is important. Now, if you go for an official, this thing, a Wikipedia, what a flag state is, the flag state is authority and responsibility to enforce regulations over vessels registered under that flag, and it includes, like, you know, inspection, certification, issuance of safety and pollution prevention documents, audits, everything is a flag state responsible. A merchant vessel can be registered and only in one jurisdiction, so that it has one nationality and one flag. However, it can change its flag in time to time, but at one time it can have only one flag. Now, I will just cover a little bit on the flag state area, because it is not very important, but I'll cover the little bit of the flag aspects, which is, you know, which we should know. So a lot of people know about it, but just to surface it, in 30 minutes you can't talk about everything about flag, but just to, like, normally when you're going to register a vessel in the register, there are 4 categories of registration, right? So briefly I'll go. First, category 1 is commercial vessels, pleasure vessels, commercial yachts, and then these are all the commercial ships. That means all our cargo ships come under this. Now, category 2 is fishing vessels. Now, this is a different ball game. Everything, inspections, all are different. So all these big flag states have all these. The third category is small ships with 24 meters and below, because all the national flag, which has got inland waterways, they have the small ships criteria. They have registration for small ships. And the last one is bareboat charter, which we all know as when a ship is coming temporarily as a bareboat charter. But if you go to any website of any sort of a flag state, you'll find this. Now here what you see is I have taken the UK Ship Register. There's a guide to registration. It's available on the net and the internet, and it will tell you a step-by-step process. So I don't need to tell you anything. You go to the internet and then you get a step-by-step process of each flag when you go in their website, how to register the vessel. So I'll briefly take a few points on the registration, which we as marine engineers or superintendents or anybody should know a little bit about, right? Like which in a top in our hardcore technical thing, we don't think of them. So to make an application for a register, what you have to do, you have to make an application for that particular flag. So what are things you require for that application is declaration of eligibility. Now, if it is a national flag, it has got an eligibility criteria. If it is a flag of convenience, it doesn't. Anybody can join in. So that eligibility document is required for a national flag. And bill of sale for existing ships, that is required. Then a certificate of incorporations of the owner of a body or a corporate, wherever the owner is, there's a company, incorporation certificate of the owner is required. Survey of tonnage and measurements. which we all know, the International Tonnage Certificate of ITC 69, that is required. If it's a new build ship, it's a builder's certificate is required. Then a deletion certificate. If it's an existing ship, a deletion certificate is required, which is called a transcript from the deletion from the existing flag. Now, all flags normally give 6 weeks time till you change your flag to get the deletion certificate from the previous flag. Then you need a copy of the continuous synopsis report, which are over 500 GT, and mortgage registration forms, all the mortgage papers. These are the general things you have to know when you have to flag in a ship. Now, apart from that, certain things, I've just pinpointed a couple of things in a short way, what you should know. So that is the Civil Liability Certificate, CLC. Now, UK ships or any other ships coming to the UK waters or a state party, the flag must have certificates that they have relevant compulsory limited liability insurance certificates. Now, this liability insurance certificate is very important, and it follows some conventions which they have to. So the following conventions, these are important to know. I'll just bring to you the International Convention for Civil Liability for Oil Pollution Damage, which generally people know as the CLC of 1969. Then is the Athens Convention for Carriage of Passengers and Their Luggage on 1974 convention. Then there's the International Convention for Civil Liability for Bunker Oil Pollution Damage. You know, when you do, you need these certificates for the ship. So then International Convention of the Oil Pollution Damage, and then the Nairobi Convention of Removal of Wrecks. So these are the things which are, required when you have to have the liability insurance. Another thing which I need to talk about is what is required is long range identification and tracking, which is LRIT, which we are very familiar with. Okay, now I have a question for the audience. Can from the audience anybody say and put it on a chat, what size of ships require LRIT? What type of ship requires LRIT transmission information? The size of the ship. Anybody? What size of the ship does LRIT applies? 500 GT. I got an answer in the chat, and 500. No, it's not 500 GT. Normally all is 1000 GT. No, it's not 1000. No, it's going up. It's 2,500. Somebody's saying. No, the why I'm telling you this, because normally all the conventions are 500 GT, right? Now here it is for LRIT is 300 GT. So any vessel of 300 GT requires an LRIT service. Okay. You can find the details in Marine Guidance Notes and Amendment of Solus Chapter 5. You will get all these things. Another thing which in ship registration which one needs to know is the MMSI number. Like we in our phones, we all have our code, these numbers to identify the phone. Similarly, there is a MMSI number. Can anybody say what is this MMSI number is? Well, it's a Maritime Mobile Service Identity Number. Maritime Mobile Service Identity Number. It's a 9-digit number, which is sent in a digital format from the radio frequency channel in order to uniquely identify a ship, its station, or earth station. So, so this will change. The MMSI number will change when a ship changes flag or if there's a new radio license. Now, okay, let's have the slide 2, please. Now, this is where coming to an important part, what to check before deciding a flag state to select your ship. Initially, previously, a lot of ship owners go by the tradition. If they have 10 ships of Liberia, the 11th ship also will be Liberia. But the time has come in this digital world to find out the best flag, to find out the flag which is best suited for your company and which will give you best returns. Because after all, it's all a business. So I'm going to show you a little bit about where you can find and what all criteria you have to choose the correct flag, because this will help your company. The owner normally when you're building a new ship, the owner thinks of building a new ship. First, he contacts the shipyard. He chooses the shipyard. The second, he chooses the flag. So then the contract is made between the shipyard and the flag. beg your pardon, shipyard and the class. Flag comes much late. If the shipyard and the class contracts are made, the flag comes much later to decide which flag is going to take. Now, before we decide what flag we're going to take, there are some parameters of the flag performance. Now, the question to you is, how will you find the difference between a good flag and a not so good flag? There are 70 different active flag states around the world. Now, if most of people know, but just for the people who are not aware, is a shipping industry flag state performance table is there. Now, this is issued by the International Chamber of Shipping, and it is produced annually. If you go to this table, it gives data for the public domain regarding the performance of the flag state in terms of port state records, ratification of international conventions, IMO meeting attendance, which is very important. A lot of flags are big flags, but they do not attend the IMO meetings. Can I have the next slide, please? Now, this slide, which is the performance table, I'm just taking a snapshot of the picture. It's a 2-3 page. And in this thing, you can see there is all the flag states on the left-hand side and all the different areas which the flag state complies is on the right-hand side in the column. So the green squares suggest a positive performance indicators. Now, there are a lot of things which are involved, and the red ones is they are not complying. So you can immediately make out from all the flags, there are 70 different flags, and which is complying. There are at least out of the 70, there are 20 flags which have got all green, all compliance. So as an owner, you should choose those flags because they are complying with every regulations and everything. Now, what are the different columns here? It is too small to read. So some of them are port state control performance of the flag, whether the flag is in the Paris MOU white list, Tokyo MOU white list, whether it's in a gray list, black list, all these things you have to do. Another one, it shows also whether it is in the target hit list of USCG. Now, if the flag is not in the target hit list of US Coast Guard, so as an owner, you're much relieved, you know, that ship will not be targeted when going to the US. There's also a Qual Ship 21. Now, a question for you. Now, what is this Qual Ship 21? We heard this Qual Ship 21, we see certificates on ships and offices. Can anyone tell me what is the meaning of this Qual Ship 21? Anybody? It's issued by US Coast Guard, but anybody knows what is this Qual Ship 21 means? Well, the Qual Ship 21 is the quality ship of the 21st century. That's how it says. And it is given to a ship, particular ship, and to the flag. So if it's given to the ship, so that ship is a quality ship. So US Coast Guard regards it as a quality ship. So that is not targeted or not being stated frequently. And the Qual Ship 21 for the flag is how good the flag is. If the flag is Qual Ship 21, like I worked in UK is having this Qual Ship 21 certificate is issued every year. In 1 year, if more of the ships get detained, you lose the certificate. So UK, when I was there, was maintaining for last 11 years this Qual Ship certificate. Every year you get it. And next, what we have to check is on all these columns is the ratification of convention. You have to check the Solar 74 with 1988 protocol, MARPOL Annex 1 to 2, and then Annex 3 to 6. Then Load Line 69 with 1988 protocol, then STCW 78 with Manila conventions, then ILO MLC. Then also they show the recognized organization, you know, whether a good sort of a class society is halal IX in its approved class, and some flags have got non-IX also. Also, it says how you calculate a status of the flag is the age of the fleet of the flag. What are the average age of the fleet of the flag? Also, there's another thing called STCW whitelist. Now, we know whitelist, blacklist, and gray list are there for flags. Okay, we all know that. Do everybody know that there's a STCW whitelist? All the senior people here will know because Mr. Mahapatra, IMO, all these people. But there is also a STCW whitelist. So if you are flagging into a ship, if you're getting a flag and they are not into the STCW whitelist by IMO, this is issued by IMO, then you are in question. You're not going in for a good flag. Then comes the IMO meeting attendance, which is so important, and a lot of small flags neglect this. They don't have anybody to attend the IMO meeting, and this is spotted by IMO and it is shown. So similarly, the IMO audit scheme. Now, Mr. Chatterjee is going to talk about the IMO audit scheme, the III audit scheme, which is there. That is also being checked, whether the particular flag has got a voluntary VIMSAS audit or an IMSAS audit, which is done by IMO. So these are the things. Okay, can I have the next slide, please? Now, this side which I'm talking is about the detention list, right? So when you're choosing a flag, PARASMU has nothing is hidden these days. So you have monthly detention list. Every month you'll go, you'll find what all ships are detained in PARASMU. Similarly, Tokyo MMU has their own. But in PARASMU I'm talking about today is this list in all the Europe every month which all ships are detained. Now, this is what, so you can find out your flag from here, the ships from here, and which they are detained from here. Now, can I have the next slide, please? If you click on any of these ships here, you get the detailed outlet of this page, which shows the ship owner, and nothing can be hidden. So I have not, blanked out any ship owner or ship's name here, because this is all available in the website. Everybody can see it. So you will know exactly what the deficiencies are, what are the corrective actions and everything. So what I'm trying to say is if you have this knowledge in mind when you're deciding a flag, you can check on all this so that you don't blindly go to a flag, and so you see what the flag state is performing. Now, similarly, the recognized organization, whether it's in compliance with the RO code, that sort of a thing is there. So we can have the next slide, please. Now, in the PARASMU, the next slide will show you the detention guidance. These are short snapshots. If you go to PARASMU website, you will get it. So what I advise to the youngsters and all that, to go and have a look. Everything is there. So this gives you a detention guidance of detention on a month basis. So that you can know exactly what is it. So these are the factors where you can choose what sort of a flag status is. Now comes to the flag listing, right? Now, we know there is white list, gray list, and black list rankings, right? In the 21st century, blacklist does not sound good. If we tell you're a blacklisted flag, it does not sound very good. But anyway, that is for the MOUs to decide and change that name. But still, so far, we call blacklisting. So now we know there's a white list, which has got 42 nations. The gray list has got 15 nations. And the black list have got 12 nations. So these are the total 70 nations which are active now. And this list of white list, gray list, and black list are updated every year in the month of July by PARASMU. So we have got the list of this July, just a few months back, which was the 2020 list. So now, before we go to the list of that, I have a question for you. Can anybody tell me from the audience which is the topmost first in the white list? Which country has got the best port state record and is considered the top of the white list in 2020? Anybody? There are plenty of people here who are in this. Anybody? Somebody said Panama. No. Panama is in the white list, but Panama is way down in the white list. Panama's rank is 34 in the white list out of 41. Anybody else who's got the first country to be in? That's what I'm saying. This is what you have to know. If you say Panama is the top of the white list, Panama 10 years back was in the blacklist. Now slowly it's come because it's the biggest flag. Somebody said Australia. No, it's not Australia. So okay, now. I'll come to this. I'll tell you it is the United Kingdom. When I was there, we were 5th. So it is after 11 years, United Kingdom has become the top of the white list this year. So it was good for UK. But now let's come to the grey list. Now, can anybody tell me which is the top of the grey list? Which is the top in the grey list? Grey list has got 15 nations. So anyway, so it is The grey list, I'll tell you, is Morocco. In the 15th grey list is Morocco. And you will see in the grey list, even India is in the grey list. And India is pretty down in the grey list. So if they don't do well this year, then they might go into blacklist. But if they do well, they can come into white. We all pray that they come into the white list. Okay, now which rank which is the bottommost country in the blacklist? Can anybody tell me which is the worst performing flags? We should not say it's worst, but they are right in the bottom of the blacklist, which is high risk. Can anybody say? Mongolia, somebody is saying. No, not Mongolia. Mongolia is in the blacklist, but not right in the bottom. Somebody says Bolivia. No, Bolivia is not. Somebody said Albania. Yes, somebody. Oh, this gentleman, who is this Jagadamba, is saying Comoros. He's correct. Comoros is the last person, the worst performing flag in the Paris MOU. Now, the last three bottom flags, which are 68, 69, and 70, they are termed by Paris MOU as the very high-risk flag. They are, I'll tell you what they are. They are Togo, they are Albania, and Comoros. Now, Togo, Albania, Comoros are the worst performing, very high-risk flag as for this thing. So now, can we have the white list slide, please? Now, if you see in the slide, you can see United Kingdom. Now, for you also, who's second? Second is Norway. And the Bahamas is the Caribbean flag who's come this time as third place. It's very interesting to check this every year. Every year changes. And so some sort of a thing, fifth is Denmark, fourth is Netherlands, seventh is Singapore. Now, sixth is Marshall Island. This is a very, very good point to know. Sixth is Marshall Island. We consider top flags are the top 10 flags. They are considered the best flags. Now, Marshall Island has come in the sixth. The first time a flag of convenience is holding a rank 6 in the world, white list. So it is congratulations to them and that means their port state control among the flag of convenience, Panama, Liberia, they're all whitelisted, but the topmost is Marshall Island at this point of time. So, and then otherwise Liberia is 13th, and we have the list. So once you go, you can find the list. Can I have the gray list, please? So no, this is the black list. Can I have the gray list? Yes, the gray list is like Morocco. Now, India is in the 53rd rank out of 70. So, and Tuvalu, St. Vincent and Grenadines, they're all on the gray list. Then can I have the black list, please? This is the black list, which starts with Tunisia and even and goes to Mongolia and Comoros, and this is so these are the things. This is just for you a snapshot to know. It is very important to know when you're going to a board, you're going to any sort of a ship, anything coming. First thing you need to check this up, where the flag is. Now, apart from this, now this is the status of the flag. You can also find out from the Paris MOU which category the flag is nominated to. Like the ships, in port state control, we have the ships with low risk, standard risk, and high risk ships, right? We all know that. So now, even for flag state, is being categorized by, it's a new thing if you know, if you didn't know this before. The new thing is now the flags have been categorized as low risk, medium risk, and high risk. So, meeting the low risk criteria, can I have the next slide, please? Now, if you have this thing, this is all the three flag states, and the first column is showing the flags which are not detained in the past 3 years. See how useful it is for the owners. For the past 3 years, the ship's flag is not detained. So you will be tended to go for these flags. There are about 15, 20 flags there. And then none of the ships have been detained in the last 3 years. So this is a thing, how it is, and then there are also flags which meet the low risk criteria. So this is the low risk criteria, and this is the last 3 years. So you get ample sort of a proof and objective evidence to choose a flag. So these are the small things I would like to bring to your notice in a flag state. Otherwise, the topic, it is quite a boring topic because for technical people, I understand that. Now, another interesting part is what is a national flag? What is the open register? What is a flag of convenience? People get a bit mixed up thoughts in this. Now, the flag of convenience is a business practice whereby a ship's owner register a merchant ship in a ship register of a country other than of its own. So if you are a country, suppose you are Norway and you are registered in somebody else's other country for various reasons, which I'll tell you why, and then the ship flies the civil ensign of that country, and that's called a flag state. So that is a flag of convenience. Now, what is an open registry? The open registry, which does not have a nationality or residency requirement for ship registration, is often described as an open registry. So that means does not have any flag can, in an open registry flag state, any flag, any country can flag it. In national flags, they have restrictions. It all depends on the government relationship with that country. But in an open register, now why do owners go for flag of convenience, which I was telling you? Now, initially, this is a very old thought. Nowadays, things have totally changed. The old thought was the ship owners can take advantage of minimum regulation. Is that true? No flag has got minimal, all have to follow the same thing. But initially, previously, years back, in 20, 30 years back, people used to go to flag of convenience so that there's minimum problem, minimum regulation, cheap registration fee. Is that true? I don't think so. Panama registration fee is much higher than any other national flag, even of other flag of convenience. Anyway, not naming anybody, but then low or no taxes. That's the main thing where the people owners used to go. Then another thing is freedom to employ cheap labor from the global labor market. That is allowed from any flag of convenience, sorry. Now, apart from the flag of convenience and open register, what is the advantage of a national flag? What is a question? I'll quickly go through. If you go to a national flag, suppose now I'm taking the advantage and talking about UK because I served there so many years. In a national flag, you'll get a dedicated customer service. You'll get a customer service manager who will deal with you, just like a private company. The costs are low because it's a non-profit making organization most of the time. And it's a quality flag. It will be in the white list. You have tonnage tax incentives. Then there'll be technical assistance by experienced surveyor, X-class and X-flag surveyor. And you have to see a national good flag will be employed surveyors, not subcontracted or appointed surveyor. You have to be very particular. A good flag will have a surveyor who are employed by them. Most of them have their own departments like that. A good and a national flag will have their own plan approval, navigation department, survey department, port state department, IT, search and rescue department, oil pollution rescue team, and national navy vessels to the merchant ship rescue, accident investigation team, expert guidance given with proactive leading roles at IMO. It's very important how that flag, is rated in IMO. Quality shipping committees, port state, MOU across the world. Now, all these things in a national flag you get free of cost. You should think about taking a good national flag with all this without a cost when you're choosing a flag. Then Qualship 21 certificate from USCG, then the maximum choice of the IAX registered RO, which are approved by them. Then how many exclusive surveyors the flag is employed. Like during my time in the MCA has got 120 exclusive surveyors, which is quite a lot. So I believe that the flag is the most important criteria, especially when the vessels are in danger. So I'll give you a quick example before I finish what happened during my time and why I think flag is important. During my time, one of the ships, a UK flagship, was going to arriving a US port. Just one day before, when the chief engineer was trying out the emergency fire pump, it didn't work. The impeller broke into two. Now, just one day before going to the US port, if the emergency fire pump doesn't work, what happens? State detention. US Coast Guard will detain the ship. So what happened? The ship and the master contacted MCA, and I was that time in post, and then we spoke to US Coast Guard. We told the ship and the Coast Guard the plan, how to do and what to do of that, because impeller, as we all know as an engineer, that impeller of an old ship won't be in the shelf to buy immediately in that port. So it takes a 2 weeks time to supply. So that way, although this thing was told to and the relation between a good national flag and the US Coast Guard is very big and the top levels. So we explained everything to them, and believe me, no US Coast Guard came on board, even to check when the emergency fire permit is not working, because they were happy that the flag was taking the initiative. So the owner was so happy in the manuals and these things, they should talk about the flag, that the flag has helped them so much, so detention was not done. So that is what one has to be careful in choosing a flag. So gentlemen, that is all I have for you today. And I shall be answering your questions if you have anything in the question answer session. But before I finish, just to let you know, in July, we had a seminar of COVID-19 affecting the shipping. How COVID-19 affected the ISM, what procedures has to be changed, what risk analysis has to be changed. We had a thing. And then we developed a training program on COVID-19 affecting ISM. And this thing, I'm pleased to know that I've just finished a training program with a large shipping company in London last week with the COVID, and it was a huge success. We'll show you some pictures later on. And also, I would like to bring to your notice that please use the Amonbord app for selecting your surveyors, auditors, and superintendents at any ports, because now in the COVID time, you know, it is very difficult for the superintendents to travel. So everything is shown in one place in the Amonbord app. Our next speaker is very well-known personality in the shipping, and everyone is waiting, Mr. Ajay Chatterjee, who will speak on IMO compliance and AAA audits. And thank you very much for listening, gentlemen. And thank you, and over to Kaushik.
Thank you, Devashish, for an in-depth presentation on flag state responsibilities. I'm sure our audience must have gained valuable insights into this topic. So without losing precious time, I'm now going to introduce our second speaker, Mr. Ajay Chatterjee, whom I've had the privilege to know and so much to learn from in the last 20 years or so. Mr. Ajay Chatterjee's professional career spans over 50 years, which includes his seagoing service of 11 years on various types of ships, including over 5 years as a chief engineer. This was followed with a 25 years career in DG Shipping and allied offices, including over 6 years as the chief surveyor with the Government of India, having extensive responsibilities as the chief examiner of engineers, head of statutory inspections, surveys, audits, and certification of merchant ships, overseeing port state control inspections, and as the registrar of Indian ships. He has led several Indian delegations to the IMO and was elected vice chairman of the MEPC from 2004 to 2008. After his retirement from the Government of India in January 2010, he became principal and head of the Great Eastern Institute of Maritime Studies in Lonavala and served for over 9 years till December 2018. Presently, he is the academic director of ADU Academy in India, engaging in the design and delivery of e-learning programs on maritime studies globally. Concurrently, since 2009, he's been an expert consultant and lead IMSAS auditor with the IMO, conducting training programs of several IMO member states. From time to time, as an IMO consultant, he has conducted workshops on awareness raising of GHG emissions from ships and on ballast water. The third revised edition of his book, Auditing the ISM, a guide for ISM auditors, was published in 2016. An alumni of the Marine and Technical College, South Shields, England, he holds an extra first-class engineer certificate of competency from DOT UK. He's a chartered engineer, a fellow of the Institute of Marine Engineers and of the Institution of Engineers in India. Now, it is well known that the IMO conventions cannot be fully complied with unless the member states have all measures in place to adequately implement and enforce the relevant requirement of the various regulations of the conventions as ratified by the member state. So in today's webinar, Mr. Chatterjee will discuss how the IMO Mandatory Audit Scheme, IMSAS as it's popularly known, which commenced from January 2016, determines the extent to which the member states give full and complete effect to their obligations and responsibilities contained in a number of IMO conventions for compliance. We will now play a short profile video of Mr. Chatterjee. Mr. Chatterjee, you're muted. You need to unmute. Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all participants. Thank you very much for joining this webinar, international webinar, and I also welcome and thank the distinguished visitors, special invitees who will be making a short address after our session. My subject, as Devashish just mentioned, is to speak about IMO conventions and its compliance measures. What do we think of IMO? What is IMO? International Maritime Organization is an United Nations specialized agency with its responsibility for regulating safety and security of ships and prevention of marine pollutions. Its main role is to create a regulatory framework for the shipping industry that is fair and effective, universally adopted, and universally implemented. Now, as I go along this presentation, I would like to take you through several slides, because I believe that any presentation, if the visual impact is much more than what you read or hear. That's what the scientists tell me. So I will just share the slides and as you know, shipping is an international industry. Therefore, one of the reasons for contributing to, although IMO has made several regulations, rules, conventions, but uncanny, repetitions, we keep seeing maritime accidents happening, and it is considered by IMO now that the lack of effective implementation and enforcement of the convention of flag states, which are not discharging the responsibilities and obligation, is the main reason. Therefore, it is believed and perceived that today the problems do not lie basically with shipping regulatory framework or with the mechanism by which the framework is constructed, but with its implementation. So what does IMO do? You have the International Maritime Organizations in London, situated in London, and it deals with, this is the IMO headquarters. Those who are familiar with it, on the banks of the River Thames. They deal with maritime safety, maritime environment, maritime security, human element, and facilitation, and including technical cooperation. The important aspect of the regulation is that once the convention is ratified and entered into force, it is automatically applied to ships all over the world through the flag state control and port state inspections. IMO's lack of direct enforcement powers has hampered the effective implementation of IMO standards at flag states. and has led to the ineffective measurement and oversight of flag state performance. So if you look at the whole aspect of IMSA's audit, that is IMO member state audit, the organization behind this is, of course, the IMO, which develops the technical safety, security, and pollution prevention standards. The governments or the member states, 174 of them, the recognized organizations, the shipping companies, and of course, the shipboard personnel. What is the background of IMSAS? It was decided by IMO way back nearly now 8 years ago that the audit scheme, for it to be effective, you need some legislation in place. The obvious thought would come that you start a new convention on the audit scheme. But it was realized that any treaty to come into force can take several years because members have to ratify it and then bring it into force. And therefore, it was decided very wisely that put this as part of a convention, that is a SOLAS convention. And if you incorporate in the SOLAS convention as an amendment, then automatically those who have ratified SOLAS, they have to comply with the III code. So therefore, you see the example like 99% today of ships are SOLAS compliant. Therefore, in one attempt, just by having this in the SOLAS code itself, you can have the III code in place. And therefore, IMO's instrument implementation code, or the III code, was added as chapter 13 of SOLAS, which provides global standards to assist states to implement the instruments of the organization. To support the code, you have the audit framework and procedures, and there is a non-exhaustive list of obligations under III code, which is also supports this III code system, but we will speak about it later. The conventions which are covered by are within the scope of this audit are mainly the SOLAS and its protocol, MARPOL and its protocol, and also the protocol of 1997, that means 1 to 6 annexes, STCW as amended, and the STCW code, the load line 66 and its protocol, tonnage measurement, the convention 69, and the call regs. So if you'll notice here that what is missing is ballast water convention, and you don't see MLC, which is very important, but it is not, as of now, it is not within the scope of IMSA's audit. The audit standard, many people would think that it's, well, we are looking at an audit, so it should comply with the quality standard, but it does imply quality in a way that, the whole genesis of this audit standard was based on initially on the quality standards, but it is a standalone standard which is called the III code, or IMO instruments implementation code. The code is audit standard and highlights three main aspects of maritime administration, namely implementation, enforcement, and review. The objective of the III code is to enhance maritime and global maritime safety and protection of the marine environment, and the code specifies in detail how to reach this goal. It is stated that because of the fact that III is implemented in various IMO instruments, the III code only applies to states who ratify those instruments. So when you are doing the audit on the III code, if the country or the flag has not ratified a particular convention, then that particular convention is not, the requirements of that convention does not come within the scope of that country at that time. The scope covers wide aspects of the maritime administration, first starting with the jurisdiction, the organization and authority, the legislation in place, that means the national provisions, how it enacts various IMO rules and regulations, and what are the supplementary rules, those contained in applicable IMO instruments, provided such instruments have entered into force for the member states, its capacity as a flag, as a port, or a coastal state. Promulgation of IMO mandatory instrument or rules or regulation. This is a very, very important aspect of the IMO IMSA's audit. I would like to stress on another aspect which is within the scope is the casualty investigation by flag state, because of late with the uncanny repetition, too many accidents seem to be happening even in this in the 2020, we have seen so many accidents have taken place, and therefore this is very much stressed in the audit. That is IMO Casualty Investigation Code, whether the flag state has complied with it, whether the requirements to investigate serious maritime casualties have been addressed, the investigators, whether they are impartial and objective, they are suitably qualified and knowledgeable. Reporting of a casualty, this is very, very important. IMO reporting is mandatory after, particularly besides many other reporting, the casualty should be, if it's a casualty which is defined, what is the type of casualty is defined in the code, how many days, or that way. So promulgation and lessons learned, this helps IMO to further cover the gaps, if any, in the regulations, or to come out with some more resolutions and guidelines. There's a resolution 1075 assembly resolution which has guidelines to assist investigators in implementation of the investigation code. Besides the technical aspects, what is also very important component of this whole IMSAS scheme is technical cooperation, because if you do not have technical cooperation, there are 174 member states may not be equally in place to be able to implement the IMSAS to its full requirement. So in order to full benefits of the scheme, IMO will consider capacity building matters, including training for audits. I had the privilege of conducting training in 4 member states assigned by IMO. That means to prepare not only the flag state for an audit, but also to train would-be auditors for the future. And many of them, I'm happy to say, are today serving as lead auditors. Courses I had trained way back starting in 2011 or 12, I think. Advice on human and financial resource requirements. Where appropriate, member states will assisted by IMO in order to prepare for IMSAS audit, address audit findings. And at one time, IMO was also doing, which I have had the privilege to do, is mock audits. That means before the real audit, the member state may ask IMO to please help us with a mock audit, which prepares them for the final audit. And I have done this, but now I think that is stopped. Instead, they stress more on training. IMO stresses more on training. So basically, the code is divided into 4 parts. What are the 4 parts? The common areas, part 1. Part 2 are the flag states. Part 3 are the coastal states. And 4 is the post-port state. And as you know, every maritime administration has these areas to cover depending on the geographical layout of the country, whether they are only as a flag state or have a coastline, or only as a port state or a totally landlocked, having only flag state responsibilities but no coastal or port state responsibilities. Common areas is, of course, remains common. Common areas mostly deals with legislation, implementation of rules, regulation, guidelines, investigation, communication of information, etc. One of the most important aspects of in the common areas is the strategy. And in my experience in the last 9 or 10 years, including the period when I was doing IMSAS audits, this area overall strategy, although it's recommended, as I've underlined it, is recommended, the overall strategy is lacking in most countries. And even if it is there, it may not fulfill all the 3 requirements. That is, to ensure its obligations, international and responsibilities are met, establish a methodology to monitor and assess the strategy to ensure effective implementation and enforcement of relevant international mandatory instruments, and continuously review the strategy to achieve, maintain, and improve overall organizational performance and capability. So this is one important aspect which I would like to stress, because this strategy, as an observation, it keeps coming again and again in all audits in my experience. Now we come to briefly, I will just discuss the 4 areas which audit is done. First, of course, the flag state. And under flag state, the areas to be covered are implementation, that includes the regulations, guidelines, etc. Delegation of authority, because all flag states definitely do delegate authority to class societies, or as they are called, recognized organization. And there is a clear-cut requirement as per the RO code, how delegation should be made. Flag state surveyors, availability, their training and retraining. Flag state investigation, as we just discussed, and followed lastly by evaluation and review. What you don't you don't measure, you cannot you cannot check. Therefore, these are, you have different ways or KPIs to evaluate your performance. Then you have the coastal state requirement. Coastal state also, how do you implement it, enforce it, evaluation and review. Now, because of the geography and circumstances, some member states may have a greater role as a flag state than as a port state or as a coastal state, while others may have greater role as a coastal state or a port state than as a flag state. Nevertheless, implementation, enforcement, evaluation. Now here, most port states have a different entity who looks after the coastal state requirements. That means that's starting with radio communication, meteorological services, search and rescue, hydrographic services, aids to navigation, ships routing, vessel traffic services. Now, these are all very, very important from the coastal state point of view, and these need to be, again, evaluation review needs to be done to ensure that they are meeting the requirements of the convention, and there is a continuous feedback, and there's a continuity, and if necessary, proper training is imparted. The other fourth item is the port state. Again, implementation of port state. This includes training of port states for surveyors, for training as port state inspectors, enforcement of port state measures, keeping register of fuel oil suppliers, in ports, particularly handling of IMDG cargo as per the code, and finally, evaluation and review. So what are the challenges faced by IMO as far as IMSA's audits are concerned? As you can see that my figures I have compiled from sources in IMO. These data is all from IMO, and IMO's target, not very ambitious, but a modest target of 25 audits per year in a 7-year cycle to complete audits of 174 member states. So far, I have information that about 43% of the flag states or the member states have been audited till end of 2019. Unfortunately, because of the present pandemic, 2019 has been more of a washout, except for 3 audits in the beginning of the year. All the audits have been postponed by a year. So as of now, the reports are 19 states in 16, 22 in 17, 20 in 2018, and 15 only in 2019. There, of course, it goes without saying, the issue of good, qualified, and trained, experienced auditor remains a challenge. And from the last meeting I had the privilege to attend in IMO in October 2019, I understood there are only about 70 lead auditors. Now that's, if you have a team of auditors of 3 auditors per audit and 25 audits, you need 75 at least auditors, and they are not available all the time. Everyone is not available. So you need to have a good team of auditors worldwide, spread worldwide, so that they can assist IMO in this task. Now, analysis, if you go through the analysis of the number of findings, now what are these? To define a finding is a situation where objective evidence indicates non-compliance with mandatory requirements contained in an IMO instrument or in the audit standard. That means either in the convention or in the audit standard, the TII code. Whereas the observation is a statement of fact substantiated by objective evidence relating to a non-mandatory provisions of the audit standard. Now, this subtle difference has to be, auditors know about it. And from this, compile, say, end of 2018 or early 2019, flag states about 52%, common areas 31%, and port states 9%, and coastal states nearly around the same. This is the analysis of the audits. And if you break down those into various areas part-wise, under strategy, maximum is initial action. Most countries have a difficulty in putting it into legislation in compliance with IMO regulations, either delay or just the system, the judicial system or the technical organization, the resource crunch, whatever reason, they have difficulty. And this is the biggest area, initial action. And then, of course, strategy, most, as I mentioned earlier, Communication, every IMO convention, there is a requirement of communication, starting from dispensation in STCW to violation of the Amonbord and any exemptions, etc. given, all are to be communicated to IMO. There is a whole list of what is to be communicated to IMO, and the flag state has to go through that list and ensure that this is done before an audit. Records and improvement, continuous improvement, whether it is there. Records not only should be there, it should be retrievable. If you go to part 2, that is flag state, again, implementation, delegation of authority to ROs, enforcement measures, flag state surveyors, including their training and availability, flag state investigation, evaluation, and review. So this is a bar chart trying to show which are the areas of concern as far as the IMSAS audit is concerned. If you go to coastal state, again, the maximum is we find in enforcement of coastal state requirements, followed by implementation and evaluation and review, continuous evaluation and review. Under port state, again, enforcement measures, implementation, evaluation, and review. And this is a snapshot or a summary of number of shortcomings reported in audits by major areas identified by the audits. And as you can see from this bar chart, that maximum is in implementation, lack of implementation and policies, enforcement measures. Similarly, initial action, again, provisions for rules, regulations, promulgation, including guidelines. And to STCW, much less, because thankfully for the whitelist, there's a great improvement in STCW, and the scope of IMO IMSAS audit in STCW is limited only to quality and reporting and communication. The rest is not done because it is emphasized by IMO that it is already under the whitelist program. IMO has already audited the flags for STCW compliance. So then you have the delegation of authority. Again, these are the areas which I just spoken about. So if you have another pie chart, finding of mandatory IMO instruments, we find maximum is SOLAS and much to larger extent, the smaller extent, the SOLAS protocol, and then the Amonbord, STCW, load line, call reg, and of course, tonnage to a smaller extent. So these are the mandatory IMO instruments and overview. And here is a summary of, let's say, 75 audits till end of 2018, 1,230 FDs, that is findings, and 120 observations. And IMO, if you consider the IMO reference document to which these are related, most 656 to SOLAS, 377 to Amonbord, 207 to STCW, 138 to load line, 87 to tonnage. And these are the various codes which are all within the scope of IMSAS audit. So it's equally important that we consider all the codes when we prepare for the IMSAS audit. Now, I have tried to give a summary of recurrent findings, and I'll quickly rush through this instead of reading it. The flag state implementation, this getting covered. Put it here. The flag state implementation could not be demonstrated, and this is the type of finding that the administration has arranged for development documentation provision guidelines. 12 out of those administration implement. These are the highest findings, recurrent problems, followed by state enforcement measures. Administration not provide appropriate number of qualified personnel. So this is the how you find the findings. Max state surveyors, again, no evidence to indicate that the system existed for updating qualification and training of surveyors. This is a very, very gray area which many flag states fail on this issue. On delegation of authority, again, lack of oversight program. You know, many flag states just hand over everything to class and forget about it. And this is a big pitfall at the time of audit. We find a lot of oversight program is missing or lack of it. Then instructions to ROs, very, very important, is missing. Flag state investigation reports and impartiality. Mostly you find many flag states that the surveyors themselves do the investigation, and even sometimes it is on the same department, and this is not acceptable. It should be impartial. All this should be impartial. and periodic evaluation and review is not carried out. So if you come to the most common underlying causes, root cause are basically 5 root causes. And all of them come under absence of documented procedures, insufficient resources available to maritime administrations, lack of national provisions, lack of coordination among various entities of the state. Now, here is an important item to note because most countries have different entities looking after coastal port and the legislation, etc. And unless the maritime administration has a good rapport and a strategic system of coordination with these entities, there will be a lack of coordination. The ultimate goal will not be achieved unless it should be, in my opinion, it should be built into the regulations of the country or the national requirement that there is a strategy and there is an aspect of coordination and continuous improvement or review. And lack of training program. Now, although the post-state control MOUs provide training of post-state control inspectors, it is seen in many countries I have visited that not a single, although they are a member of an MOU, not a single workshop or a training course was done by the flag state surveyors on post-state control. And this is something you need training. You cannot be a good post-state control inspector unless you have gone through training. This is only one aspect of it. But what about other aspects? What depends on what your surveyors are doing in case they're involved in STCW requirement, then they have to be trained as examiners, they have to be trained as conducting oral and written examination, maintain a quality system, inspection of training facilities. This also comes in on the training. And not only that, even basic training and how to adhere and give compliance to IMO convention is also part of a training. IMO has gone to the extent of providing apprenticeship training. As flag member states are encouraged to send people for 1 or 2 years. I think my friend Ashok will know more about it. The scheme of training of flag state surveyors in IMO, they are seconded to IMO for a short period at a time at the cost of the member state. And this way, they know more about the working of the IMO and how IMO likes to see that the flag states are running their administration. And in fact, what is IMO supposed to do and how is it related to flag state activities? So in conclusion, I would like to say that from the foregoing, what is very important is a consolidated audit summary report. We call it CASRs. Now, these are periodically published by IMO. It is available on IMO website. And these, without naming the country or the flag, the actual findings and observations are listed according to the various parts of the III code so that it provides a valuable input to the member states' regulatory process on IMO. And also, it gives IMO an opportunity to study that and scrutinize and find areas that need improvement, areas of mandatory IMO instruments in need of improvement and amendment. You see, as we all know, maritime regulations are all mostly proactive, although we are going for more and more, with the coming in of FSA and global goal-based system, probably IMO is trying more and more to be more proactive and rulemaking process. But nevertheless, these IMO CASRs do help IMO in finding out the need for improvement of existing regulations, rules, guidelines. Possible new technical assistance program or guidance required to address difficulties reported by member states and difficulties encountered by states in implementing and enforcing the requirements of the IMO mandatory instruments. Thank you very much. I will welcome any questions during the Q&A hour. And once again, I thank all of you for your patient hearing. And many of you probably know all this, but it is to those who are interested to know it maybe for the first time. And those who are in the countries which are preparing for IMSAS audit, I hope this will be helpful and I can take questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ajay sir, for emphasizing on the compliance aspects of the various IMO conventions. We will now play a promo video of our organizers. You need to stop sharing, Ajay sir.
Yeah, I'm just doing that.
Right. Moving further, I wish to mention that our webinar today is graced by special guests who have had legendary contributions to the maritime industry. So our first special guest is Captain Ashok Mahapatra, who actually needs no introduction on marine forums, but nonetheless, it's my proud privilege to make an introduction of him. Captain Mahapatra joined Scindia's steamship navigation as a cadet in 1973 and rose to the rank of chief officer in 1977. He became a master with South India Shipping Corporation in 1982 and remained in command of foreign-going ships till 1986, after which he joined as a nautical surveyor with the Government of India. In 1994, he was promoted to the Deputy Nautical Advisor to the Government of India. He joined IMO's STCW and Human Element Section as a technical officer in 1998, and in 2003, he took over as the head of maritime training and Human Element Section in the Maritime Safety Division. As of 1st January 2012, he was appointed Senior Deputy Director, Subdivision for Operational Safety and Human Element in the Maritime Safety Division. And on October 1st, 2015, he took over as the Director of the Maritime Safety Division. He retired from IMO on 31st December 2017 and has started his own consultancy, UA Consultancy, it's called, from 1st January 2018. We request Captain Mahapatra to share a few words of wisdom for the benefit of this forum. Captain Mahapatra, please. You need to unmute yourself, sir.
Thank you, Kaushik, and thank you to all of you all. And instead of going wishing somebody good afternoon, good morning, I would take the safe bet out saying good day to everybody. Okay. Now, I will not divulge anything in the past because what has happened and things, I'll start thinking of what we are definitely in challenging times and the future as I see it. Part and parcel of it is what you have just showed the app is a part and parcel of practically doing remote service. Whether we like it or not, that is going to be the name of the game. I've seen it being done and it will have its own teething problems, but let's not fool ourselves. It is there to stay. It is there to stay and stay for a very long time. It will become efficient over the period of time, and we have to work innovatively towards it. Yes, the traditionalists, there will be pushback, but change we must, because that is how we have to be. Otherwise, we become footnotes in history. The second aspect, which I think all of us should be looking at, is the issue of autonomous ships. Whether we like it or not, technology is going to change and going to catch up with us. While technology was available, the problem comes in where the tech guys bring in something without consulting with either the operators or the regulators. I think the time has come that we need to work together Because let's face it, means in our own lifetime, we have seen changes in our working procedures and things like that. I mean, how many people are taking sites today? And people are practically going by GPS. So these are the things. I mean, I had this terrible argument when we were revising the STCW convention of getting rid of the Morse code. I mean, it was outdated, but then again, when you try to remove it, there was a reference in the coal regs, which is a cross-reference. We couldn't remove it completely. We had to leave the distress signals on. But that practically defeated the whole purpose. Because even if we leave it up, what practical effect does it have? The other issue that I had with the people who were discussing things is when we bring in more things, there is need to weed out older stuff also. There is no point in keeping that. And because the human mind has got a finite space, and that finite space must be used efficiently. By you putting in systems and knowledge which will practically have no meaning is practically a waste of time. So we need to look at it, and people who are going, and when the next revision of the convention comes in, please have a look at it. Now coming back to the autonomous ships, during the last year of my period in IMO, I took it by the horn and we brought it as an agenda item on the Maritime Safety Committee, much against the advice of the ITF and all that, who thought, oh no, you should not even entertain this. I said, listen, whether if you don't work with it and work it to your advantage, they are going to bring it anyway. So why not work at it and get an efficient system? Then at that time, I gave them the example when the ships changed from sailing ships to motor ships. And at that time, there was only one set of regulation which really required change, because you had no other shipping regulation, which was the rule of the road. And from 1850s to almost 1900, when only 4 countries were involved in making these collision regulations, it took almost 50 years to agree on practically how many. The first ROR had about 16 rules. So can you imagine the rigmarole and the legal dilemma we will be in with the setup for the autonomous ships? So it is better that you start working on that. I'm glad that the Maritime Safety Committee is working. I'm also glad that a lot of recognized organizations are working on it. And we have to bring the techies on board and see that it works legally. I know it's not an easy task, because it's very difficult to talk to the techies, especially from the operational side. But it has to be done, and let's do it. And I heard both Ajay and Devashish. I worked with both of them for a long time. It was very nice hearing it. And of course, all these surveys, audits have been, because of the pandemic, have been really put on a back burner of a sort, but nonetheless, they are finding ways and means of trying to do it remote. Even in the IMO, they are talking about how to revive the audit, the VIMSAS, not VIMSAS, it will be VIMSAS audit through a remote operation. I'm sure they'll find ways and means of doing it. Technology will guide. We had technology did make IMO do its council meeting virtually, and I think I'm getting a thing to bring it down. Anyway, it was nice talking to all of you. All. Met some very old friends, especially Vijay, my old shipmate after my first certificate. So nice meeting you all. Sitting here in Bhubaneswar and walked up, but enjoying myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Captain Mahapatra, for those enlightening words, as always. Right. Moving on, our second guest speaker is Commodore Ashok Bhal. Commodore Bhal is presently the director of the Indian Maritime University, Kolkata campus. Prior to this responsibility, he served in the Indian Navy for over 3 decades. He was the Additional Director General of Weapons and Electronic Systems Engineering Establishment, VC, as it's called in the Indian Navy. In addition, he worked as the Director of Hindustan Shipyard for 5 years. Commodore Bhal has been awarded the prestigious Vishisht Seva Medal by the President of India. He completed his bachelor's degree from IIT Roorkee and a master's degree from IIT Kharagpur, where he was the gold medalist. He's also done his MBA from IGNOU. We are very glad to know that the helm of DMET Meri or IMU Kolkata campus is in the safe hands of Commodore Ashok Bhal, and the students are benefited of this vast experience. I request Commodore Bhal to say a few words.
Thanks, Kaushik. Am I audible?
Yes, you are, sir.
Yeah.
Very much.
As usual, I think today's presentation on flag state and IMO compliance by the two very eminent personalities, very good, very knowledgeable, and brought out various issues related to the challenges and the compliance. I would just go off track and recollect my 35 years in Indian Navy, where what Mr. Debashish said, the flag state, how do you identify yourself? But in 35 years, the whole challenges what we've faced in Indian Navy was to identify the enemies, especially the submarines, which used to be always underwater. And it used to be a really difficult task identifying whether it is a nuclear submarine of USA or of China. So at least this flag state gives a very clear-cut thing how to identify. And the tables which he brought in as to, I think what he mentioned about India in the gray table, and perhaps at the very low level we need to really improve. And but happy that the place where he lives in UK has gained the top spot. Very well planned and structured talk by him. And coming to Mr. Ajay Chatterjee on various root causes and challenges in IMO compliance. I think he brought out very basic things in his presentation. Very basic things, that what are the causes and how to move forward towards it. And also stressed very clearly that probably there is no other way out except to slowly move towards the compliance of various factors. I personally feel that Amonbord, this series of webinars which they are conducting are really eye-opener. Today, I had requested Mr. Debashish and few of my final year students are also attending this webinar. And we would also request him that in future, if we can accommodate more in number of people, because they are the ones who should really understand it right at the beginning of their careers as to what important role all these aspects they play in a maritime career. one thing off the track we would like to mention that presently at DMET and various IMU campuses, we are working on a maritime vision 2030 for India, which has got 14 areas, especially by there is going to be a master plan, a blueprint which will come out in 3 months or 4 months time. And that vision, starting on various topics, what should be the net share in the world, what should get, what should we do, what should be the fleet, and in 14 chapters. But this blueprint will come out and we would be working towards that vision 2030. I once again thank Mr. Kaushik, Mr. Majumdar, and Mr. Ajay Chatterjee for giving us a very, very in-depth and knowledgeable talk, and sincerely hope that Amonbord will continue with such sort of knowledgeable and entertaining series of webinars, perhaps every 1 month, which will be very, very effective in increasing the knowledge base of all the small community of in the maritime field. Thanks a lot, gentlemen. Nice interacting with you. Good day.
Thank you, Commodore Bal. That very encouraging words, and glad to know that the young cadets and the future shipping professionals are also tuned in, and hopefully Amonbord and Seed Maritime should be able to address their needs and future expectations. Thank you very much, sir. Moving on, third guest for the day is Mr. Bishwadeep Banerjee, whom I've had the pleasure for knowing for the last 40 years or so. Bishwadeep Banerjee is currently the head of operations in AVS in India. He has been with the American Bureau of Shipping for over 31 years in various locations in India, Dubai, China, and Baku. He's a naval architect by qualification from IIT Kharagpur and has also worked in Mazagon Dock prior to joining AVS in 1987. We request Mr. Banerjee to enlighten our audience. Over to you, sir. You're muted, Bishwadeep. Please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Kaushik. It's good to be here in this kind of a space. Thanks to Devashish also for organizing this, and Mr. Ajay Chatterjee for the excellent presentation. I think Devashish, I know Devashish since I think 1994 when he joined ABS. He was actually in the Calcutta office where incidentally my dad used to be working, and while I was in the Bombay office. So my association with Devashish is from then, and he was into this auditing. It just started at that time, and he was into it like a flash. He was kind of like a, what should I say, like a fish takes to water, So it was something that he took to, and I think he was a very, very good auditor. And I'm glad to see the way he's progressed and the kind of things he's doing. I believe what you're doing, Devashish, is the future. I think seminars will not be anywhere in an air-conditioned hall in a hotel anymore. I think this will be the way to go. People don't have that much time anymore in this busy world. I think this is excellent what you're doing. And you told us a lot of interesting things in your presentation, some of which I was not aware, although having been in the industry for a long time. And some comments I had, and some of these Mr. Ajay Chatterjee may be able to comment on further, would be that I have, as Mr. Mahapatra also said, that way back, the number of regulations were very, very few. Even when I joined class as a young surveyor, there were just, 5 or 6 certificates to be issued to the vessel. Today, you're lucky if you end up issuing 35, 40 documents. You're lucky because the number of notations, the number of new certificates, I get the feeling that our industry has become an over-regulated industry in the sense that IMO keeps churning out regulations, and not just IMO, there are other bodies as well. Class also, of course, we update our rules. I won't say those are new regulations, but I think sometimes I ask the question, can the industry support complying with all these regulations? And this is probably where forums like INSA or IMO, or where you have representation from countries where they're able to give feedback. But again, my question is, who regulates IMO? Maybe some of the gentlemen here, Mr. Chatterjee or Mr. Mahapatra, will be able to enlighten us. Who regulates IMO in the number of regulations? I mean, is there a study done? I'm not aware. Is there a study done as to whether the burden on the industry is manageable? Because shipping is already struggling through the changes that are coming, whether it's high price of oil or changing technology or emissions, or going towards a more green world. These are kind of concerns and comments, whether we'll be seeing a large amount of companies going out of existence because they cannot manage to cope up with the regulations anymore. The other comment I also had was on port state, for example. I mean, I remember in my time in China, the question is to come to mind that who regulates port states? And it was interesting to see in the China, the Maritime Administration, that they set targets for themselves. I mean, I remember interacting with the Maritime Administration there quite closely, and it was interesting to see that their surveyors are required to undergo examinations. And these examinations are not open book examination. They're closed book examination. They are expected to know the regulation backwards, whether it is SOLAS, tonnage, MARPOL, COLREGS, IBC code, whatever. And this is why, I mean, I used to find that as far as knowledge is concerned, they were way ahead of us as far as knowledge of the regulations. It was a different thing about application, applying those regulations in the very, very real world. And this is where I think a maturity of a port state or flag probably kind of regulates the port states and the kind of inspections they do or the kind of findings. But over there in China, I saw that they really challenged their surveyors. For example, one of the metrics is if a surveyor has inspected a ship, and that ship, during the next inspection, something is found, it's a black mark against that surveyor. So this is what makes them so thorough. Of course, at times, I think they go quite overboard about it, and in spite of class stepping in and saying that, for example, I will give you a concrete example of a emergency escape trunk in an engine room. Okay, so there's a certain minimum requirement. I forget how much it is, 900 mm or whatever. So they actually went and measured it on a vessel which is 4 years old, and they found it to be short by 6 mm. And the reason it was short by 6 mm was because the thickness of the plating in the lower strake of the bulkhead was thicker. It was a thicker strake, and that the thickness had been on the side of the trunk, inside the trunk. They actually asked the owners. So we from, let's say, class, we said that we think this is acceptable. It should have ideally been facing the other way, but this is acceptable. But no, they said this 900 mm is 900 mm. This does not meet it by 6 mm. You need to crop and renew that plate. So I think this is where some kind of let's say moderation needs to happen. So these were some of the things that came to mind when I was listening to today's presentations, and it's been a pleasure to be here. And over to you, Kaushik.
Yep. Thanks, Vishwadeep. Yeah, those were hard-hitting comments. I hope some gets answered sooner than later. Yeah, and the powers that be, I'm sure, would work in the right direction for these. Thank you very much for providing an insight.
Thank you.
Our fourth and final guest for the day is Mr. Michael Safikianis. I always struggle with the surnames of the Greeks, so I will keep it to Mr. Michael. So it is my honor and privilege to introduce Michael. So Michael is the Managing Director of Gulfhead Limited, a UK-based enterprise established in 1986 by its founder, Apostolos Safikianis. At a time when shipping was in recession, Gulfhead pioneered the introduction of non-genuine spares in response to the growing needs to reduce operating budgets for the Greek shipowner community. So Michael graduated from City University in London with a master's degree in mechanical engineering, and in 2014 became a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts. He's also a senior landmark graduate and a coach. We request him to say a few words. Over to you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Kaushik. Gentlemen, good evening or good day, which is the easier way of saying it. I'm very honored to be here today. I've been following the seminar series. This is my third time, I believe. So anyway, I come from a Greek and English background. I've been working in the industry 20 years now. It's a family business, Gulfhead, and we supply marine equipment. And when people ask me, what do I do? It's taken me quite a long time really to boil it down into its distinction, which I think we're all doing the same thing, which is keeping ships moving. That took me 16 years to get to. And it was only after in 2012 when Apostolos, my father, he handed me the reins to the business. I became managing director, and then I was sat there after a couple of years wondering, how am I going to fill my dad's boots? Because this is a company from 1987. It was created. So how am I going to do it? I mean, I'm not my dad. He's got his customers, they're Greek ship owners. He knows everybody. I'm starting to know people. So I thought to myself, I'm going to take myself off and do some personal development with Landmark Worldwide. And after a few programs and being a coach as well, I met a gentleman on a self-expression and leadership program called Rajesh Ranjan, who was working at BP at the time. You might know him. He said, I know a great guy called Debashish. He's in our industry too, so I'll introduce you. So I got introduced to Debashish. I went to one of the programs he was on, and he was speaking, and I was really inspired. I mean, the things that he had to say, we're in the same industry, so it was natural that we would get together, and we've known each other for the last few years now. I consider Debashish a brother, and it's like we're family. Obviously, I'm not from the same background, but then again, maybe I am. We're all from here, and really, you know, I'm honoured to be here. I work with a lot of people that I think have gone through the DMET as well, like in MSc in Cyprus. A lot of technical superintendents. I get on very well. As long as I can be of service and contribution and supplying marine equipment, I'm happy. I know nothing really in the industry. It feels like when I come to this seminar series, it gives me an insight into things that I wouldn't really know. Nobody talks about it in my circles because we're in a small segment. It's a very big industry. Every day there's something new to learn, is what I keep getting. I mean, I was talking to somebody else last week saying, you know, I'm just a rookie. They said, how long have you been doing it for? I said, 20 years. I learn something new every day. So that's, you know, what I wanted to say for my background. It's very interesting, you know, the special guests as well, what they've had to say. And, you know, we are all here with our thoughts and feelings about how things are going to be. We're in a time now where we're only really talking about what doesn't work in our lives, with our industry, where it's heading. You know, that's really what we're listening for, is ultimately the question is, are we going to survive this? And no, I don't mean the alleged new strain. What I mean is the, it was touched on earlier on, compliance, the restrictions getting tighter, freedom of movement, freedom of speech even. It's kind of dwindling in the wind at the moment, as we all work out a way on how we're going to find the opportunities the way it is and lead lives that we love. And these are my questions in my mind, really. You know, the compliance being perhaps you know, the certifications that vessels require. I don't know an awful lot about that, but what I'm getting is that every part of life, every industry, even the healthcare system, you know, the COVID-19 agenda, it could be called, it's or the new normal. These are all words which are coding for another one, which is New World Order. And how's that going to fit in, or how are our lives going to fit in with the New World Order, unless something happens in the meantime, which would be a revolution in humanity and a golden age, perhaps. Where we're heading for is a one-size-fits-all, you know, healthcare, or I can see autonomous vessels coming quite easily in because they don't have people problems. You know, how are we going to remain relevant? These are my questions, and this is what I think about a lot of the time. It's about well-being. I'm very interested in well-being, and keeping up to speed with what's going on, and doing my bit to navigate and to create certainty in my life and for my clients, the ship managers, the ship owners, our principals, our suppliers, how to create certainty and navigate. And that's really my thoughts and my comments. And really to, and then thank you all for welcoming me here, for giving me this moment to speak. I'm thoroughly enjoying this seminar series. It's a great thing. I would love to see it once a month, as it was mentioned earlier on, and it has been so far. And with Amonbord and Seed Maritime UK, the Bashish, you know, I see you all as my friends, and most of you I don't know. I've seen you speak, or I can just see you on the screen. You're in different parts of the world, in Singapore or UK. So fantastic. Thank you very much. And yeah, that's what I had to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael, for those deep philosophical talk in a way. Yeah, but of course, yeah, within the right maritime domain, I guess it would really serve the needs and the expectations, right? So we thank you for your precious time and those words. Right?
Thank you.
We would now like to play a small video on a training which was conducted on COVID-19. So Srinivas, can we have the video, please?
This is just to say a few words. This is what I was talking about, that I conducted a full training program on a shipping company in London, and educated all the superintendents, DPA, general manager of the company in Costco UK headquarters. And I can see the Costco CEO has also joined, but he's not in the video. He's with us with this, and he's given us the opportunity, Seed Maritime and Amonbord, to do this sort of a one-day full training with all their staff of how COVID-19 has affected the shipping and ISM. So there were a whole lot of workshops, and it was a successful episode. Thank you very much, Mr. Wang, our CEO of, and allowing us to show this to our viewers. Thank you very much. Okay, continue, please. Kaushik, please.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that. Well, in the interest of time, ladies and gentlemen, we will, of course, move on to our question answer session. But we'll have to restrict the number of questions. I've seen we have received a few questions, so we will ask maybe one or two, and the rest we can probably email the sort of the response. I hope that's all right. Yeah. So the first question I would like to ask Mr. Chatterjee, this is for you. What are the advantages of the IMO mandatory audit scheme? Mr. Chatterjee, please. Yeah, you need to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Kaushik. Am I audible? Yeah. Yeah. If you ask me a question on what is the advantage of IMSS audit, of course, I can say there are nearly a dozen advantages. But just to pinpoint the four main areas which I would like to say. Number one, transparency of the information gained from audits. Because notwithstanding the fact that confidentiality clauses as an exception, executive summary report on the corrective action plan and comments on the progress of implementation of corrective action plan will be released by IMO member states. This helps a long way. It helps the flag states to improve their performance of IMO instruments and prepare themselves for the IMSS audit. That is number one. Number two is improving performance of IMO instrument itself. You see, as I mentioned earlier, that most maritime regulations are reactive. But in this case, under IMSAS, if you discover the gaps and failings, IMO is in a better position to correct itself, take action. And just now, one distinguished visitor, our guest, has mentioned what's the use of so many regulations. Just IMO has been already taken the step of reducing, the new convention. I think they have taken, Ashok will know better. I think now in 4 or 5 years, there will be no new conventions, so that you are not overwhelmed with different conventions coming in. The other aspect is, of course, the farmer safety assessment and goal-based standards. This will also help, and IMSS audits will highlight the major areas of concern of flag states, and therefore, this is another advantage. Third point is homogeneity and international regulation regarding shipping and safety. Audit scheme has a result that not only member states can identify where its shortcomings lie, but due to its public character, the other member states can benefit from the outcome of another audit and use it to implement and enforce IMO legislation in a better way. So the audit does help. The fourth point, which is a subtle point, is the pressure on states to abide by soft law principles. That means an important reason why states might feel pressure to comply with non-binding legislation or soft law is because they value their reputation. Also in tanker wettings, higher inspection, risk assessment criteria for post-state control, the new inspection schemes, what Devashish was saying, one of the requirements in the form is clause related to IMO audit performance. So these are the four major areas or advantages that I can think of right now. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope that answers the query. And Ajay sir, we'll just take one more for you here. We have a question. Do we assume that a person, a senior marine engineer, has to be from a flag administration or from a class society? Can a senior industry person from the shipping office or a shipyard or a training institute, will that person will not be found suitable? That's the question. I don't know if I've interpreted that correctly.
I don't know what it is mentioned. Suitable for what? Is it for IMSA's auditor?
I think shortage of qualified auditors. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think Mr. Rai, he's asked this question. Mr. Rai, would you?
It's for auditor. I have been hearing Mr. Chatterjee mentioning it at various platforms shortage. So what is the IMO doing about it to induce more people?
Yes, IMO has been constantly encouraging member states to recommend auditors training and woefully, unfortunately, this is not coming up. Or even if they have been recommended, I have come in many cases, they don't attend the training program. See, you have to be trained as an auditor. You must have a quality training background, probably in IMSA's audits or quality audits. You must be suitably qualified and preferably with a maritime background. But IMSA's audit training is a must. So for which flag states, IMO holds various workshop and training schemes in which to encourage. Slowly it is picking up, but it should be more, because all over the world, if there are only 125 auditors, including only about 70 lead auditors, that's not a very good picture.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah. So a few questions here for Debashish as well. I think we can pick two out of these. Yeah. So if a vessel has a massive oil spill,
can I just step in and just put a little bit on that last thing on the auditor's requirement?
Sure.
See, the question is, it's not a question what IMO is doing. The question is, who is IMO? IMO is the member states. We have been repeatedly asking for people to become and trained, which has not been voluntarily. It is free of cost, everything under the technical assistance program. There are a few criteria, like you said, whether it is required to be a marine engineer in this. It is not that. There are, as an auditor, there are different standards and different qualifications and experiences which is required. That is a person in training. Yes, if he has the audit background, why not? Person within the industry, having in a shipyard, having the audit background, yes, why not? But then the mandatory audit scheme is a specialized field by itself. And that is a different ballgame, and for which you have to be trained properly. And that training is required, and that's what we are going. But unfortunately, the response back from the flag states has been rather muted. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Captain Mahapatra. Yeah, we agree to that. Okay. Right. So, well, a couple of questions here. If a vessel has a massive oil spill in the UK coast, how does the flag state help? How can the flag state help? So I guess, Debashish, this is for you. You are muted, Debashish.
Okay, all right, okay. As I was speaking there between the flag state and now, if there is an oil spill on the UK coast, and now I take the example of the flag which I worked in, which is UK flag MCA. So the difference of that, if there is a flag pollution of a UK vessel, say, in the coast, and there's an oil spill. So here, the Maritime Coast Guard Agency the customer service manager will firstly advise what to do immediately. There is a customer service manager round the clock in MCA, 24/7. They are on duties. Every day they change. They are all senior principal surveyors on duty. So the owners have got a mobile number to call anytime in the night, anything which happens. And he's a senior, either a senior naval architect or ex-class, ex-captain, ex-chief engineer. And he's a senior person to advise you. Apart from that, if there is a spillage, there is a a oil spillage response team of the Maritime Coast Guard Agency, a search and rescue team. They will all act, because if you're a UK flagship, that they do not see that time that whether the owner is UK or the crew is UK. It's not seen. It is a UK flagship. That means it's responsibility of the United Kingdom. So the anti-pollution team will go. They will wipe up. They will shield the ship up. There'll be help from the Royal Navy. The Royal Navy ships around will come to your help. You cannot imagine what sort of a help you will get free of charge. Now, if you compare with any flag of convenience, nobody has the infrastructure to give you that. So when you're deciding on flag, these are the advantages which you have to see. And this is what happens. The biggest advantage of this, the search and rescue and the oil pollution team will clear up the initial oil, and that restricts the whole ship and the incident to be on the BBC or CNN next morning. Because once it is in the CNN and BBC next morning, finished, fines, everything. So these are the things I've seen in my life. There are small pollutions, and they were all dealt with so nicely with the oil pollution and the search and rescue team, the helicopters there in the Maritime Coast Guard and Agency. So whoever's asked this question is quite good. So this is sort of a thing help. So once you're deciding flag, these are the things you help, which you can get from a flag, which has got the infrastructure for this. I hope this answers the question. Okay.
Right. Thanks, Devashish. Yeah, I hope this is the response you were looking for. Well, there's one more, so I'll just take one more question in the interest of time. If a ship is detained and the captain and the company does not agree to the detention and wants to challenge it, can the flag help?
Yes, again, this is depends on the flag infrastructure, right? Okay, now again, since the question is, I will speak about the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency. If it was a UK flag, for example, I have an example myself dealt with. I won't name the country or wherever. One of the UK flagship got detained, and we did not agree. First of all, the master and the ships sends this thing to the company and all sends to the flag. Now, we have a department, we in the sense, I mean, the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency, have a special department of port state control. So the head of port state control, head of inspection, deals with it. Once the flag thinks that this particular detention, number 30, whatever it is, not appropriate, so they are going to write and speak to not to the surveyor, but his boss. It's an inter-country, whichever country they have written, the port state of that country. So MCA will, because it is also MCA's UK flag's duty, because if the ship get detained, we slip from the whitelist flag, we slip from the top flag position. So we will not allow the ship to get detained. So the flag takes all precautions, and they talk to the port state control of that particular country. And then where there's arbitration, as you know, there's an arbitration form to be filled up. If you don't agree for the port state detention, you fill up the arbitration form, and MCA backs up the owner to fight. That has happened in a case during my thing where we fought and we won, and the owner the flag state has to pay back. The flag state has to pay back all the fines and all the delay charges back to the owners. So that's what it is. If the flag has got, most of the top flags have got people who will fight with the owners for port state, because we know that some countries we have no control. The port state things are, you know, it's if you see 10 deficiencies, 8 of them are just fast. But you can't do anything about it. So some countries, but that's why. But this, as a government sort of a thing, it's an intergovernment will go and ask that government on that level, and the owner gets the benefit. So that sort of a thing is there. So you know, just a flag can do a lot for a port state detention.
Thanks, Devashish. So I think in the interest of time, because we have overrun a bit, so well, we apologize for some starting difficulties which we or some of you would have had, right? So hopefully for the next one we should be able to sort that out. So I would now request Devashish to express a vote of thanks to all our guests and the audience.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. Before I do that, I just want to bring to your notice that our next webinar is going to be on the 8th of October, a Thursday. We choose always a Thursday on the first week, 8th of October. And then the first topic which I'm going to speak is what we discussed today also, like are inspection and audits possible in this pandemic, how we can make inspection and audit possible in this pandemic where superintendents cannot fly, people cannot fly. So I'm going to talk in details on that topic. And we have my co-speaker is going to be an ABS ex-surveyor, Bishwadeep. She is a Greek lady. She's already come in our show before. It's called Olympia. She was in Netherlands and she was in South Korea. She's a naval architect and an ex-ABS surveyor. She's going to talk about career and success in the maritime industry and the mindset of the people. She's a mindset speaker now. So I think it will be an interesting combination. And so that will be 8th of October. So we wish all of you to join and with us. And now my vote of thanks goes to Captain Mahapatra. Thank you very much, sir. Among a busy schedule, you're here, you joined us. Then we have our Commodore Bal, for joining us in the MET. He has been very regular with us and he's very, very supportive. And then we have Bishwadeep. Thank you very much for joining. Michael, very much. Thank you very much for your time, these things, and all the other people who have joined us. I can see Mr. Vijay, all the people, senior person, Mr. Rai, all Mr. Sudesh. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining. And before I finish and I hand it over, I should thank my co-speaker, Mr. Ojai Chatterjee. He's been amazing, and he's got very, very good sort of a presentation. I would thank Kaushik Steel for our moderator. Thank you very much, Kaushik. You've done an excellent job. I would also like to thank Kiran Thorat, who was our previous moderator, but he's in our team working with us continuously. And lastly, but not the least, the mastermind of Amonbord, Mr. Patnaik Srinivas. So thank you very much, all of you, and the team, Singapore team on Amonbord, who have been working and helping us so that we can bring forward to you all the latest developments. And I also have to thank Mr. Gang Wang, the CEO, who doesn't want to be in the camera, but he's the CEO of Costco Europe and Costco UK. Very, very senior person. He's also joining. He has joined with us. And all of the other people whom I know or may not know, thank you very much for joining. And over to you, Kaushik. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Devashish, for the vote of thanks. With that, we sort of conclude. So thank you once again for everyone for joining from far and near. Stay safe and look after yourself and your families. We will forward you our next webinar details, as Devashish has said, on the 8th of October. And with this, I declare the end of this webinar. Goodbye and good luck. Cheers to all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. God bless. Thank you.